Hey, it's Tom from Fortune's Path. I want to talk a little bit about the Fortune's Path pricing methodology for SaaS products. So, what do you need to know about pricing? Well, price is the single most important factor for your revenue growth and your profit, which is pretty obvious, but they're also in competition with each other, growth and profitability. Not always, but enough that you need to take into account when you're pricing. To price something well, you need to pick one primary pricing outcome, and we're going to talk a little bit about that later. Price should be based on value, which also seems pretty obvious, but there's a few complexities to that are important to understand. You need to be able to a provable, defensible value proposition, but that alone may not be enough because value is defined more emotionally than rationally. I can make a fantastic argument for why I should eat more broccoli than potato chips, but I eat a lot more potato chips than broccoli because of the value I associate with potato chips, the emotional value. And that's going to trump logical value a lot more times than we care to admit. Last, you have to know both what you're going to price and why you're going to be pricing your product there, because your go to market has to be built on that rational value proposition, and that value proposition is dependent upon price. Too often, I see companies and organizations thinking about price after the product has been developed. Not terrible, but not ideal, because if you can understand all of the elements related to creating the price, you can take that into account in the development process. So, what do you need to know to price? Your type of product, your primary pricing outcome, your market, who your competition is, and who pays. So, the type of product, is this a brand new product standalone? Are you repricing an existing product, or is it a buy up feature? Those options are going to affect how you price something, and they're also going to impact your ability to achieve your primary goal. Your primary pricing outcome, are you trying to acquire users, generate revenue, generate profit, or capture market share? And I can hear every CEO saying, I want to do every single one of those things. Well, there's a problem. They are in competition with each other. Acquiring users and generating revenue are not always the same thing. And certainly generating revenue and generating profit, particularly in SaaS, are sometimes at odds. You have to pick one primary outcome in order to be able to have the best possible outcome. If you try to go for all of them, you'll mess something up. What market are you selling to? Are you selling to individuals, small and medium-sized businesses, large businesses? You may be able to go after all of those markets, but only think about those markets that are going to be at least 20% of your revenue. Don't worry about pricing for markets that are going to be less than that, because it will make your price suboptimal for the other markets. Competition. What types of competition are already in the market for your product? Everybody competes against status quo, internal options, or do nothing. So no one has no competition. If you're competing against well-established brands or niche brands, that can be tough, but it's not impossible to overcome. But you also need to understand if there are free or freemium models out there. That's absolutely going to affect your pricing and, at a minimum, your positioning. Last, who pays? Is it the people who use the product, the people who want to be seen by the people who use the product, like advertising or sponsorship, or the people who want to learn about the people who use the product? So are you collecting data or other elements that you can resell those later? This is absolutely important for understanding your entire pricing structure. So you might ask, well, what about, don't I need to know, am I selling for users? Am I selling per month? Am I selling for usage? Those elements are going to be determined based upon your ability to answer the previous questions, like what market are you selling into? What's your primary goal? You have to understand that stuff before you jump straight to, well, we'll sell on a per user basis. Pricing is hard, but it is critical, and it's essential to a successful go-to-market. If you want to know more about it, or you'd like a little bit of help, reach out.